Welcome. Please subscribe, thumb up the video, share to your social media. This is a fan theory for the show called From. It is on MGM Plus. It is a fan theory that contains spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tabitha's bracelet in 3 different places. So I kind of just threw out what it was about. I mean, as far as the theory, but I'm going to further explain it because some people were having issues with understanding exactly what was being communicated. Maybe because it's dealing with time travel. Time travel can be wonky. It can be confusing. Writers will establish rules, and with them establishing rules, they may not necessarily stick to those rules. And then it becomes, well, you said this in the beginning as far as it being a rule or an establishment, but now the third act of this show or this movie, you're doing something different that's contrary to what you presented. And that does happen. So I'm going to go into somewhat in depth as far as Tabitha's bracelet being in 3 different places, and to explain how the bracelet that Tabitha made from Jim's father's bootstrap could have been lost at the hospital before they got into Fromville, and also be in Henry's glove box and in the diner. And this goes into what is known as the bootstrap paradox. I call it the Miranda-Tabitha paradox. So if you all want to use Miranda-Tabitha paradox, that's cool. If you all want to react to my content, this stream or any video that I have, that's great. You have my permission. This is the Miranda-Tabitha paradox, and it's based off of the bootstrap paradox. So the bootstrap paradox is a concept in that if you send information or an object back in time to a previous point in time, that information or object can create a future event. The example many people like to use is if in 2024 we invent time travel, and then you send the instruction manual for time travel back to, let's say, 1980. Well, you give it to yourself in 1980 by putting it outside of your door, knocking and leaving. You in 1980 open the door, you see this time travel book, you pick up the book, you read it, oh, it's time travel. And then let's say you spend the next 10 years through trial and error, getting materials and everything, and you build a time machine in 1990. So in 1990, now you're able to travel through time. But then you realize, oh, you know what? I more than likely gave myself this time travel book. Let me go backwards in time to 1980, give myself the time travel book so I can invent time travel and have it going in 1990. And at that point, it becomes a loop. So now in 1980, you have the time travel book that you gave to yourself, and in 10 years, you build the time machine 1990, which is combined together or strapped together. You received a book in 2024, invented time travel, you went back to 1980, gave yourself the book, you took 10 years to build the time machine, you realize you gave it to yourself, you go back to 1980, and you give yourself the book to learn how to create time travel for 1990. You're giving yourself something backwards in time to be able to invent it and have it for when you went back in time in the first place. And the term bootstrap means that you're doing it yourself. Pull yourself up from your bootstrap, meaning you fall on the ground. You're like, let's say, a soldier in the military. You fall on the ground and you put your foot up in the air. You put your hands on your bootstraps and you use that to pick yourself up. Bootstrap. With the whole bootstrap idea and doing it yourself, in this bootstrap paradox example, you have time travel in 1990, you send it back to yourself in 1980, you take 10 years to make time travel. This 1980-1990 loop gives you the ability for time travel. It also presents the idea of, well, in 2024, time travel was invented. Was time travel really invented then or not? It's not really a true paradox in that going back in time, you create a new timeline. So you're not the inventor of time travel. You're just the inventor of time travel on a new timeline. That is the bootstrap paradox, in that A would equal B, B would equal C, and C would equal A. With the Miranda-Tabitha paradox, it's the same idea, except for no one is physically traveling back in time. We're talking about Miranda having a vision that caused her to create something that was used in the future to create the situation in the past. Here we go. We're not going to go down a rabbit hole. We're going to go down a foxhole, which is much deeper. Number one, Miranda was on an acid trip. Miranda had a vision of Tabitha going into the lighthouse to save the children. And then in another vision, or maybe the same vision, she had a vision of Jim's bracelet that Tabitha made. Miranda made a bracelet from what she saw in her vision, with the imperfection that she saw Jim with, gave Henry a bracelet, herself a bracelet. With the imperfection she saw in the vision, the reason she did that is she viewed it as something that had good fortune, like a rabbit's foot or something that was lucky. And she also, in my theory, she makes a bottle tree in the park 30 minutes from her home from seeing the bottle tree in the vision. All right, so she made 2 bracelets similar to Tabitha's with the imperfection, gave one to Henry, kept one for herself, and made the bottle tree in the park 30 minutes from home. All right, so Miranda in a car ride, probably going to the park where she made the park bottle tree, ended up in Fromville. And so that's the reason why, in my theory of why she would be with Victor and Eloise and not have Henry with her, because she wasn't driving to Fromville. I believe she was driving to the park where the bottle tree is, in the park where she made from the vision in Fromville, and they ended up in Fromville and they saw the tree. Miranda does not see Tabitha. She sees the ghoulish children and believes Tabitha did not save the children in the lighthouse. So Miranda decides to save the children herself in the lighthouse. Miranda tells Victor and Eloise, stay here. I'm going to go save the children. Eloise runs after her. Miranda makes it to the bottle tree, becomes unalived. I think Eloise at that point was taken into the forest by whatever people took Miranda's life, or whatever. Or maybe they found Eloise crying next to her mom. Eloise is kidnapped at that point. Next day, Victor comes out from the cellar. He sees the carnage in town, sees the boy in white. He goes to the bottle tree knowing that his mom was going to go save the children in the lighthouse. He finds his mother. Victor, through hiding, through scavenging, he grows up in Fromville. We may know more about that throughout season 3. Miranda's belongings ends up in the diner, along with Miranda's bracelet that was a copy of Jim's bracelet that Tabitha made with the imperfections. An adult Victor tells Tabitha information about Eloise and his mother Miranda, and eventually tells her that his mother went to go save the children in the lighthouse. Tabitha decides that she wants to go to the top of the lighthouse because she wants to save the children. She gets pushed out by the boy in white, wakes up in the real world, opens the lunchbox and sees Victor's address. Tabitha meets Henry, and both end up in Fromville after seeing Henry's bracelet, which caused an argument and caused the car accident that we saw at the end of episode 3. Miranda had a vision of Tabitha saving the children, and she saw Tabitha do that after Victor told her that Miranda went to go save the children. There never was any children to save in the lighthouse. The toys and different things we see could have been from children who lived in the lighthouse at one point, maybe before Frumville became Frumville and absorbed the lighthouse there or something. But as we've seen, there were no children in the lighthouse to save because there never were any children to begin with. The bracelet with the imperfection that was given to Jim, made by Tabitha, that was lost in the hospital before they got into From, was in the diner because Miranda passed away with the bracelet on her person when she became unalived. And that same bracelet that was also made for Henry with the imperfection that was copied from Tabitha's bracelet that she made for Jim was also put in Henry's glove box. If Jim's bracelet that was made from Jim's father's bootstrap, I think the writers are kind of winking at us by saying that the bracelet was made from Jim's father's bootstrap paradox, winking at us again because it's a paradox that's created with a bootstrap being created on this bracelet. It's almost impossible for this to happen because they never originally brought the bootstrap bracelet into Frumville because it was lost in the hospital. And that's why it becomes somewhat of a, did the egg create the chicken or chicken create the egg? Because there really isn't a point in time where the actual bracelet that was lost was brought into Frumville. And that's the reason, that's how it gets wonky, because it really should not have happened, but it did happen because of a vision. The cycle gets broken and there's the idea of an alternate timeline because the original bracelet was never brought into Frumville. So how do you see it? So I believe that Miranda was able to see the bracelet in the diner. It's not a true paradox, as in the chicken came from the egg and the egg created the chicken. We're using the idea of an alternate timeline, maybe even Frumville, to start the cycle. And it's almost like it's not going to be an endless loop of rinse and repeat because of the idea of an alternate timeline. So yeah, hope that didn't confuse you too much or confuse you too bad. Thank you everybody who's thumbed up the video. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. Thumbs up the video, share to your social media, subscribe, click the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Go forth, do great things, and I'm out. Peace.
The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera.